Okay, welcome to our fourth and final seminar of 2017. Very lucky today to have Sam Wagmeister from Las Vegas here. His presentation is going to be under the radar in Las Vegas. And I want to thank everyone who showed up for all the seminars. I see several people here who have been to all of them. And boy, that's wonderful. I really appreciate it. The presenters who go through a lot of trouble to put this on, they really appreciate it. So we hope you've enjoyed it, and like I say, I've only got one opening for next year, so if you want to do one, see old Jim and I'll put you on the list. Here's Sam.
Hi guys. Thanks for coming out, I appreciate it. I've been living in Las Vegas for about 18 years now, and I had no clue what it was going to be like when I moved here, and I've got to say I've been very pleasantly surprised. I thought, in this town, if you're going to enjoy yourself, you have to go out on the Strip, and if you want to get a good meal, you have to go out on the Strip. And through some very fortunate events that happened in my life, I found out that you don't. There's so many opportunities out here for us. But let me give you a little bit of background on how I got to where I am today in this culture out here. I'm a real estate agent in Las Vegas, and we have to take continuing education classes. So I went to one of these classes, and there was an instructor, just a dynamic, beautiful blonde woman. There was just a connection we made, and they had a little reception after this class. Hi, Dick. Oh, if anybody doesn't have any of the handouts, they're right up here. So my wife and I were talking to her after the class, and we just got along so well. She said to me, "I'm having a party at my house Saturday night. Why don't you guys come out?" She said, "I've been doing jazz in Las Vegas for about 35 years, and I invite all my friends to come out. I never know who's going to come out, and we just jam until 11 p.m. when it's curfew, when we have to shut the music down. Price of admission is a dish to share with everybody and a bag of ice." Well, we were a little intimidated by this invitation, but she was so compelling, we said, well, we've got to go. So we get to her house, and we park about 2 blocks away, and we get out of the car, and there in the air, we hear this beautiful voice singing Sera Sera. We walk around the corner to her house, come up the front door and walk in, and the house is packed. In the front room is a lady playing the harp. In the family room is a man on piano. And in the back are must have been 100 people. There's a stage, lights, sound system, bar. It was unbelievable. And the woman on stage who'd been singing Sera Sera, she finished, and the next man got up, little tiny guy, dressed in a powder blue suit on an August night in Las Vegas. And he took that jacket off, and he was almost dainty. He folded it up and put it on a chair, took the microphone, and he just knocked the walls down. He rocked so hard, and I walked up to him after he sang, and he said, "Where did that come from?" He says, "Oh, I just left the Broadway cast of Dreamgirls. I moved to Las Vegas because I want my daughter to go to your performing arts high school." It's a very famous school here, and my daughter would always say, "Oh, that one was in my English class," when she'd see him on TV, and that was in my history class, and that one was in band with me. So one after another, it was just an amazing night, and I kept saying, "Where are you performing? Where are you performing?" Guys says, "Oh, I work construction, but at nights I'm at Sam's Town in the lounge, or at Fiesta Rancho in their lounge," things like that. So I started going out to all these places, and it was addictive. Well, in my real estate business, I specialize with people of my generation. And so I joined a couple of network groups for people who provide services to that generation. And there's a newspaper, which is now a magazine, the Vegas Voice. I was sitting next to the publisher one day and I said, "Boy, I envy you." He said, "Why?" I said, "Well, if I could do anything, I'd be a journalist." He said, "What would you write about?" I said, "Local entertainment." And I had worked as a journalist in Chicago, covered the Democratic Convention for Associated Press and some stuff like that. He said, "So you write about entertainment?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, give me 500 words once a month." Now we're a magazine, I get 350 words, but I've been doing that for going on 8 years. And I've gotten to integrate myself with a lot of great, great people. And one of the things I do, because to enjoy what I do, I can't go out to these shows on the Strip. You know, if you're lucky, you can get a ticket for $75. But a lot of people who come here to Las Vegas think that they have to spend $100 on a meal or $100 on a ticket or more for a night out. And there's so many little local places. In my business, I've taken people out who've come here to see what it's like. And I've taken them out, and at the end of the evening, their comments are, "I didn't know there was anything like this anymore." Because all those great lounges where Freddie Bell and the Bellboys or Cookie Jar or Louis Prima used to play, they're gone. You know, they have slot machines in those areas. They're run by Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, dollars per square foot, and things like that. And they've lost the culture now that the corporations have taken over. But that culture is fading, but it still exists. You just have to dig for it. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've spoken so far? Good. All right. So what I've done is I've prepared this little handout, and what happens is a lot of the casinos here, the local casinos, South Pointe's one of the best, Suncoast, Rampart, have free shows and deals for locals, especially locals 55 up. Sheldon, you belong to some of those, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of your favorite deals?
We like 3 Angry Wives.
You like what?
3 Angry Wives.
Oh, okay. Down at the Orleans, is it?
It's at Charleston and Fort Apache. It's a little bar with some great food, and we go there all the time.
They have that girls band there?
Yeah.
Yeah. With Vita? Is Vita in it?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So what is that kind of music that they play?
They use a jukebox.
Oh, okay. But didn't they have a band, a girl band there?
No, actually there was a band at the Triple George Grill, which chased us right out of the room. A little noisy for us.
Well, Triple George isn't really a locals area. It's a great restaurant. It's a great steak restaurant, but it's a premium steak restaurant. You know, one of the top places in town. Bill, have you been to the Tap House?
Yeah.
Okay. Tap House on Monday nights, they have a jam session. They never know who's going to show up. They have Grammy Award winners on stage who have played in some of the top bands, the rock bands. They played for, you hear, oh yeah, I played for Debbie Reynolds. I played for Judy Garland. I played for Sinatra. These guys. Who is Sinatra's guitar player? Who's Tony Bennett's saxophone player? These guys, you never know who they are, but they're cream of the crop. And within these little venues, they're able to exhibit their personality. And their personalities are really a lot of fun. So the Tap House, you walk in there, the music goes from about 7:30 to about 11 o'clock at night. It's a dance floor, it's exciting, and the music runs the gamut. You'll have vocalists doing rock and roll, Motown, our era rock and roll, Motown. Bill, what's some of the stuff you saw when you were there? you
Garrett, I think that's the.
Oh, Rob, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Rob Garrett, who's going to be here, who's an exceptional Neil Diamond impersonator, and he won the Tribute Artist of the Year award, but it's got to be 7 or 8 years ago. Something like that. And you listen to him, you think you're listening to Neil Diamond. And one of his favorite things to say is, "I do a young Neil Diamond." He can't do that anymore. So, in fact, Rob will be here the July 4th weekend with a Frank Sinatra tribute artist and what's his name? An Elvis tribute artist. And I can't remember the man's name, but about 4 years ago, he was named by the Graceland Enterprises as the Elvis tribute artist, Justin Shandor, Elvis tribute artist of the year. So it's really a dynamic show. And what he does is he puts together the connections of songs that the three of them each did, and then now they harmonize and do them together. And he's got a 7-piece band, costs $25 to get in. But let's get back to Tap House. So Tap House has a lot of people like Rob, like Justin Chandler, the Elvis impersonator, out there pitching their shows. And you can get a seat there, no cover charge, one of the best burgers in town for $10. You walk out of there, have a couple of beers, a burger, or the best chicken wings in town for under $20, $25. And that's for 3 hours worth of entertainment.
Sam, their pizza's good too.
You know,
Wait,
I've heard people say it's the best pizza in town,
their
but
antipasto salad is excellent.
okay. Have you been there for the music on Monday night?
No, we've missed that. The first time we ever got there, we got a cab to get us there, and that was 25 years ago. You couldn't get a cab to get back if your life was ended on.
Well, that was before Uber, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's a great restaurant.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I came in late. Are you talking about the Bronx Wanderers?
No, Tap House.
Oh.
Did you have something to say about the Bronx one?
Well, we went to see Bronx Wanderers last night. It was one of the best shows we've seen in Vegas in many, many years.
Bronx Wanderers is a group at Bally's, and it's a father and his 2 sons and a couple other band members, one who's insane, but funny insane, the guitar player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a doo-wop show, and in the back of the handout in that book, there's a code for 2-for-1 tickets or half-price tickets, the Bronx Wanderers. But people walk out of there saying, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen in town. Nobody ever heard of them. They've been here about 8 months now. They used to tour the East Coast and Midwest in the summer doing festivals. And then in the winter, they go down to Florida and they do the community centers. And community centers in Florida, in the 55-plus communities, seat 2,000 people and more in some of those areas. But they kind of got tired of being on the road 300 days a year, and they were lucky enough. They started out here. And they were playing at the South Point, and a producer saw them. Producer of Menopause the Musical, and he said, "We got to get you here in town." And so they're at a little showroom at Bally's. They come on, usually they come on right before Wayne Newton. Okay, but Wayne is taking the summer off, so they now have his 3 nights a week. They have his show time at 7 or 7:30, and the other nights it's 5:30. But they've had a phenomenal success here, and they are looking for a bigger showroom. But it's interesting how they work here. So the showroom that they're in is called the Windows Showroom at Bally's. It used to be the buffet. Okay, they closed the buffet, or the health department did, and a man came in and he took it over. He leased it, and now he subleases it to 4 or 5 or 6 shows a day. And you should see how that process works. One show shuts down, and they get you right out, and they start rearranging the room for the next show. And I got to tell you, the shows there that I've seen have been just amazing. People we've never heard of. There's a Motown show there that's wonderful. There's a mind reader, and don't go with your spouse because they might find out stuff you don't want them to know. There was, I can't remember what the other show is, but the shows I've seen there have just been amazing. But these shows lease out the room. They rent it. So it's called four-walling. So it's not like the old days where somebody had the showroom where you'd get a vocalist in there, like Louis Prima, and the hotel would pay him to come in. Now the artists are paying the hotel, and they're doing their own advertising, and that's part of what's happening here in town.
Isn't that part of the corporate culture? Is that they eliminate their risk? They're getting a flat fee up front. And
Yes.
The artists take all the risk.
The artists take
Or
all the
promoters,
risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really too bad because it's expensive to do business here in town. I mean, you pay, like the Bronx Wanderers are paying thousands of dollars to have an ad on the "Do Not Disturb" sign to the room. It's very expensive. So they have to come to town and hit it big, or they die. They got to start getting in the black real quick. Right down the street is a place called the Bootlegger. It's been around for over almost 50 years. Okay, this is their second incarnation. Monday nights they have an open mic night hosted by this gal Kelly Clinton. I was there a few weeks ago, and we're having dinner on the open mic night, and there's a guy sitting 2 tables away, and I said to the lady I was with, I said, I know that guy from somewhere. And I'm looking at him and trying to figure out who he is, and she looks at him and she says, Jack, come on up on stage and do a couple of songs. It's nice to talk to a crowd that knows who Jack Jones is. But it was Jack Jones, shorts and flip-flops, and just sitting there having dinner, came up on stage and just jammed for about a half hour. And that's the kind of place it is. And one of the regulars over there is Huggy Bear. Remember Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch? He's a heck of a singer and dancer. They pass a tip jar around, and he was also in the movie Car Wash, and they play the Car Wash theme, and he's out there. No cover charge. No cover. You can sit at the bar and have a drink and watch him, or go in there and have a great meal. Out in Henderson, and this is just an incomplete list. Club Fortune. It's a hard-to-find little casino off the main path, and in the back they have a little room, and they've had Grammy Award winners. I recently saw, if you guys know who Michael Grimm is, he won America's Got Talent, $1 million prize. He beat a little girl named Jackie Ivanko to win $1 million. Just a wonderful evening for the price of, and the drinks are $3. The price of a $3 drink. I embarrassed myself a few years ago. I went to see Michael Grimm down at the Palazzo. And I just asked for a Crown Royal, and the gal came up to me and said, that'll be $17. And I drowned the singer out when I yelled, what? Dispensary. Nobody in town who lives 3 blocks from the dispensary knows where it is, but it's been there for 40 years. It's at Tropicana and Eastern, and you have to know where it is in the center to see it. I think they've got the original carpeting there. The last Wednesday of every month, they have, Friday and Saturday nights, too late for me, they have jazz. And they have some great singers, including this gal, Michelle Johnson, who a couple of years ago won Las Vegas Has Talent. The last Wednesday of the month, Michael Delano is there. And nobody knows who Michael Delano is. His first professional singing job was on the Rhoda show. Rhoda broke up with her husband Joe, and she started dating a lounge singer by the name of Johnny Venture. That was Michael Delano. Does anybody know who he was? Okay, he played the casino boss in Ocean's 11 and 12. Okay, and he brags that he's been killed by Arnold Schwarzenegger twice. It's a great little atmosphere. It seats about 80 people. They have burgers and fries for $8, and their burgers always end up on a top 10 list. Italian American Club is one of the best places in town, if not the best. And I know Bill's been there, right?
Yep.
Is Jerry Vergado's here? No. Jerry's been there. Sheldon, have you been there?
Not yet.
Okay. Well,
I'm waiting for the Duke of Fremont Street to invite me. I'm waiting for the Duke to invite me.
he's in the hospital.
I know. No,
Ver-
he's not.
Oh, he is?
I think he is because he emailed me.
Because he was very serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Italian American Club is Nevada's oldest Italian restaurant, and far and away from being the most expensive. You can get a great meal there for $30, and that with a drink, and sometimes the manager will buy you a cocktail at the end, limoncello. They have a showroom, but they have a lounge that has entertainment 5 nights a week. They're closed Monday and Tuesday. I was there with some friends, three women friends that I know, and they're from Chicago. And I said, let's go get a cocktail. And we went over there, and there was a man on stage by the name of Jerry Tiffy. Anybody ever hear that name? Jerry on his website has a picture, I think it's of the Sands Marquee. It says Jerry Tiffy, Tony Bennett, George Carlin, and Joan Rivers. So he travels with some pretty cool people. So he was on stage, and he was doing a good job, and they were enjoying it. And actually, the 4 of us had come from the show, the Bronx Wanderers show that we were talking about earlier. And one of the songs that they do in that show is called Memories of an Italian Restaurant. It's a Billy Joel song. Scenes from an Italian restaurant. Well, the bartender took the microphone, went behind the bar, and sang the song. It was just such a cool evening. But so we're sitting there, and we're just having some cocktails, and we're enjoying this. And Frankie and Joey Shinta, 2 of our longtime legends here in town, music, upbeat, funny, and just dirty enough to make you blush but not be embarrassed. They walk in after the show, and Frankie gets up on stage and starts his good-natured ribbing and his great singing and his terrific comedy. And then he looks over to the right, and there's one of our town's other gems, a man by the name of Clint Holmes. And Clint has been our, he was the vision of our Performing Arts Center, our 4-year-old Performing Arts Center, the Smith Center. He was the resident artist until he ended up getting a couple more shows on the Strip. And he'd been on the Strip for years, too. So it ended up with Frankie Shinta, Clint Holmes, and Jerry Tiffy on stage. And these 3 women that I was with were having so much fun that they were crying. It was just, they couldn't believe it. So they'd just gone to see a show on the Strip that was wonderful, and they saw a great show that money could buy, and here they saw a show that money couldn't buy. And the diners there, and this is typical for them. The Italian American Club closes at 11 o'clock. We left at 1:30. That's how the energy was. That's how the adrenaline was. So it's great food, great service, great entertainment, and you're looking at $30 to $50 per person for a meal, depending on how many drinks you have and what you ordered. But it's just top notch. Next, in your handouts, I had something about the Rampart Casino. Rampart is one of our local casinos. It's on the west side of town, and they have 3 different venues that they have entertainment. And the entertainment goes from stuff I'm not interested in, but my daughter would like, to stuff I'm very interested in. They have an entertainer there on Wednesdays by the name of Mark O'Toole. All their entertainment, and I'm not going to go down each thing, it's free. Salvatore's. You know, if you look at that picture on Salvatore's page in the lower right-hand corner, that's a guy who hangs out there. And whenever I take somebody there to Salvatore's in the Suncoast, I always introduce them to this man without saying his name. He's a dead ringer for Willie Nelson. Yeah. And invariably, whoever I'm with will go, "Are you Willie Nelson?" And he'll look at him and say, "Not today." There's a piano bar there, and on Tuesday night, a lot of the local entertainers head over there. Pia Zadora's there, if you remember her. She's there, and a lot of the other local entertainers will be there just to rub elbows and share music and good times and have a drink or two. And the 6 nights a week they're open, the piano bar is led by Phil Baker. Phil Baker and his brother were in Chicago. And some guys came in while they were in Chicago and got talking to him. And they said, "You know what? You guys are great. This gives us an idea. We're movie producers." And Phil and his brother were the inspiration for the Fabulous Baker Boys with Bo and Jeff Bridges. So it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit more upscale. Same food as the Italian American Club, owned by the same people. And once in a while, you'll see the chef who used to be a singer in Los Angeles. You'll see him come out and do a few numbers. Adds a lot of charm to the evening. South Pointe Hotel is probably takes care of their seniors and their clientele better than anyone else in town. They have a wonderful program for points. You can buy gas for half points and food for half points. And they send out flyers for free buffets, free shows. One of our club members a few years ago, I was at his house for his birthday party. He's gone now. And one of the singers from here was at the party, and I'd never met him before. And so we got talking. His name's Wes Winters. And I said, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "Kansas." Well, I perked up. I said, "Where in Kansas?" And he said, "Oh, you never heard of it, Olathe." And I said, "What did you do in Olathe, Kansas?" He said, "You're not going to believe this, but I managed the floral department of a supermarket." And I said, "What was the name of the supermarket?" And he goes, "Dillon's." "Why?" I said, "Was it the one on Merlin or the one on Santa Fe?" He said, "Merlin. How did you know?" I said, "I used to walk there with my daughter." So Wes does a free show here twice a week, Friday and Saturday nights. He has, in the Grandview Lounge, he has such a loyal following. It is unbelievable. Free show. High energy, music of our generation, a little high school type comedy, a little giggling on his part, and it's just a lot of boyish charm. Wednesdays, we have a great Motown show, Greg Austin. He has guest stars who've been in the business for years. You'll Checkmates or Jersey Boys, people like that. One of the most popular events here is Wednesday nights. Greg is Tuesday night. Wednesday night is a dance party for, again, our generation. It's a great place for people that either sit back and enjoy the music. It's $5 to get in, but that comes with a drink. What else have we got here? We've got some Friday night shows. We have a late comedy show that it's called The Dirty at 12:30. I haven't seen it. I probably won't. It's 11:45, but I don't think it's something that I'd like. But I know that some people I know who are a lot younger than me love it. Suncoast. Suncoast has two great shows. Every other Wednesday they bring in people who are touring or local entertainment. It's a free show Wednesday afternoon. They just want to get you in it's a slow day for them. They want to get you in the casino, give you a show, and hope you'll buy some food and spend some money at the slots. That's been going on for as long as they've been around, and they'll bring in some top talent. Bobby Rydell has been there, Frankie Avalon's been there. They've been doing shows at the Suncoast that night, or that week, and so they'll pitch the show. They also have 3 different bands that do a sock hop every Friday night on a revolving basis. Another free show. Have any of you guys been to the Tuscany Suites on Flamingo? What'd you think of it?
It's nice. They're,
Where were you? What did you? Did you eat there? Did you gamble there? Did you,
I gamble a little. I eat there quite often.
where do you eat there? The
Uh,
cafe?
No, yes, the cafe, which is
Marilyns.
Marilyns.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good selection of food. I don't know if it still is. Friday nights used to be all the crab legs you could eat for
It's still-
20 bucks.
Yeah, I avoid it on Friday nights. It's hour and a half wait.
I've actually seen the show, The Rat Pack, there.
And what'd you think of it?
It was good.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have a revolving cast of Sinatra, Sammy, and Dean.
Their Italian restaurant is quite well, too.
Okay. I've never eaten at the Italian restaurant. I used to like the Mexican, but I had no pull there, so they closed it.
It's a pub
Huh?
now. It's a pub now.
Yeah, I haven't been there to the pub. But they have nightly entertainment 7 nights a week, free. They have a lounge right near the Italian restaurant, and 7 nights a week. I ended up sitting down, it was full except for one table. So I sat down at this one table, and a few minutes later, the man I mentioned earlier, Clint Holmes, sits down, and then he calls a couple of guys over, the Righteous Brothers. So this is the kind of people who hang out in these places. You know, Cindy Williams ended up being there. Remember Laverne? Yeah, yeah. In fact, she was at where's Archie? She was at the Bronx Wanderers the other night. But their music runs the whole gamut depending on the night. And on Wednesday night they have this gal Kelly Clinton who does the Bootleggers on Monday. Sunday nights there's a man who does theme shows, and all of this is free. It's just there. Just go in and sit down and relax, and don't worry about what's on TV. You know, the summer reruns. I saved this one for last. I used to love this place. Ron DeCar's Event Center. If you want to see old Vegas, he's just off the strip at Charleston and Las Vegas Boulevard. I don't remember the name of the street. He used to have an address on that street, and I just noticed he had changed his address to reflect how close he is to the strip, 1201 South Las Vegas Boulevard. But he took this old abandoned warehouse. It was in the movie Casino. And just beyond him is a mansion that was Sharon Stone's house in Casino. It's the Hart Mansion, alleged to be. And you should see this mansion. It's got this covered portico driveway that leads to the back garage, and it's going to have 8 massive crystal chandeliers. It's just unbelievable. Welcome to Vegas. But Ron DeCar's. You walk in and you're in an old style Vegas showroom, and he has some great entertainment there. Unfortunately, I have to put a warning in, be careful of the food. Yeah, because I've had a lot of people say, wasn't so hot. But you don't have to eat there. You just have a drink or just buy a ticket for the show. And they have all sorts of professional entertainment. Every once in a while, you'll get somebody who is trying out a show for a larger venue. And so they'll take it there to this little 200-seat showroom and smooth out the bumps. Now, I just want to say this about Las Vegas real estate, okay? Because that's how I make my living. We have 55 plus communities here. You don't qualify. but I think everybody else in the room does. They also have showrooms, and they provide entertainment in the communities. And they have lots of activities. Like there's one up here, Sun City Anthem in Henderson. They actually have 2 showrooms, as does Sun City Summerlin. And they bring in some of the top entertainment that's either touring or is residency here in town. They also have programs for seniors. They have community clubs for different interests: hiking, shopping, traveling, reading, crocheting, mahjong, chess, pool, all that. And those clubs are $10 to $15 a year. Some, like woodworking, you also pay for materials, but they have lots of, they really cater to people who are moving here who are looking for activities. So, you don't have to go to the Strip. You don't have to be alone. A friend of mine once said, nobody should walk this earth alone unless they choose to. And people who are considering moving here, one of the things they always consider is, who are my friends going to be? Well, in those communities, the best place to make friends is at the mailbox. So, anybody have any questions?
I got it. What I wonder about is, Paradise and Winchester where the casinos are?
Yeah.
What's the difference? Is it a different tax rate? What's the difference between just Paradise and what's regular Las Vegas?
Where are you from, sir?
California, Northern California.
Okay. The reason I ask is I'm a Chicagoan. And what we had in Chicago were neighborhoods. Rogers Park. What are some of the other neighborhoods? I've been out, so.
Old Town,
Inglewood.
Yeah.
Wrigleyville.
Yeah, okay. So there you go. They're just neighborhoods. And the tax rate is always going to be different depending on where you live. And it's going to be governed by the neighborhood. A more luxurious neighborhood is going to be more. But figure that real estate taxes are going to be just under 1% of the purchase price. So if you have a $200,000 home, $2,000 a year, about $1,800 a year, $1,850. And if you're a resident, it can only rise 3% a year. So if we had another boom, which we're kind of experiencing now, and home prices went up 10%, your tax rate isn't going to go up. Your taxes aren't going to go up 10%. If you're an investor, they can only go up 8% a year. Did that answer your question?
I also wonder if there's unincorporated places within Las Vegas, they're just a county that aren't part of Las Vegas City. I'm just curious.
Unincorporated Clark County? Yeah. Yeah. In unincorporated Las Vegas? Yeah. One of the most well-known areas of land that is not in Las Vegas is nicknamed the Strip. The Strip.
That's what I was asking about.
Yeah, it's not in Las Vegas proper. In fact, we don't have a Las Vegas police department. They used to have their police department, and then there used to be another police department. Now, it's one police department called Metropolitan Police Department. So, the differences are who has control of the government, and that's all. But tax rates and things like that, no.
Is Henderson and Las Vegas are right together now? There's no space between the two cities?
No, and Henderson seems to be gobbling up little strips of land. They gobbled one up a few years ago next to the M, thinking they were going to put a baseball park in there. And that never happened. The 51s are our minor league baseball team, named for Area 51, and they didn't go there. They're planning on going up to an area called Summerlin, which was named for Howard Hughes. And I do have some information on kind of the area in here. But Howard Hughes' aunt's last name was Summerlin, and he owned all that land. That's a real burgeoning community right now.
I noticed you never mentioned Palace Station? I thought that they surround the whole city. I thought they're the main casino for the locals.
You know, it just depends on where you are. Palace Station's doing a major addition right now. But it just depends where you are. You know, their local casinos have sprouted up because, you know, people they can't afford to come down here. They can afford to gamble, but if they want a cup of coffee, they don't want to spend $5 on a cup of coffee or a Coke or something like that. And it's getting more expensive now with paid parking at the casinos. So, sir, you had a question?
Yes, during your lecture, you mentioned Elvis Presley. Well, about 2 years ago, we went to the El Cortez, and there was a gentleman there that was impersonating Elvis Presley. And I just happened to pass by, and I heard that it was just like he was ad-libbing one of Elvis Presley's songs, from one of his old records. The guy sounded, absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't believe it. And I had to go, I'm not a drinker, but I had to go in there and buy a beer and listen to this guy. And it was just like you were listening to Elvis Presley. His voice was absolutely fantastic. And one of the gentlemen in there we were talking about him, and he was telling me a little bit of personal things about him, that he has a bad attitude. He's not a very good businessman, but he said that he could probably go way up if he wanted to, but he just don't have that type of personality.
You know, you're right. I don't know who you're talking about, but I can tell you from the people I know that that's not uncommon. They forget that they're in show business, and that's two words, show and business. And the one thing I have in common with them is we each have to get up every morning and go find business. And a lot of them are too wrapped up as artists. I admit, when I got into real estate, I thought I'd sit at the desk and answer the phone all day and sell houses. And I didn't know I'd have to go out and, start my business knocking on doors in August and saying, hi, But they forget that they're in the business, and they're too proud to hire managers and agents. And it's sad that there's so many great talents out there that don't have work because they just don't know how to run a business. It's sad. Any other questions, folks? Okay.
I'd just like to stress the Smith Center.
Oh, yeah.
Women's Art Center. We get 16 Broadway plays a year here in Vegas because of the Smith Center. And some of the entertainers you get there are a lot cheaper than you're going to pay for on the Strip. And we've had some good entertainers. We've had Carol Burnett there. We've had Lily Tomlin there, and some others. So we have the Performing Arts Center.
We've had Jerry Lewis there with Norm Clark. Yeah, and what's her name? Marie Osmond's going to be there shortly for an interview.
It's a very good.
Have you been to the Cabaret Jazz?
For Clint's Christmas show a few years ago.
Smith Center is our 4-year-old. It's our diamond. It's just unbelievable. It's 3 venues. One is, and it's right outside downtown. One venue is this 2,000 seat, beautiful Art Deco stainless steel theater. State-of-the-art sound, state-of-the-art lighting. The other is a 250 seat intimate cabaret that is just absolutely gorgeous. And again, you don't know what great lighting and great sound can do until you see it. I had no clue. And this little 250 seat theater is so intimate, and they have some fantastic, Dina Martin, who's going to be here this weekend, was there just a couple of months ago. And she brought a lot of folks on. And one of the best shows I ever saw was Lucy Arnaz's tribute to her father, Desi Arnaz. It was just an amazing show, and people walked out of there, couldn't believe it. So it really is. And then they have a little black box theater that's almost bleacher-like seating, and it's just a couple hundred for kind of community center type plays. One of which comes here once or twice a year, called "My Mother's Italian, My Father's Jewish, and I'm in Therapy," or vice versa. Huh? Yes, Steve Solomon. Anything else, folks?
Yeah, I'd like to know, I don't play with locals. I wanna know what casino you think gets the most drunken fools in their poker room. The MGM was great last night in their poker room, do you know?
You know, I've been here 18 years, and I got tired of gambling, losing real fast. So after 18 years, I have enough points on my slot card for soup. So I'm not one to tell you what the good gambling joints are. I apologize. Anyone else? Well, thank you all for being here.